Good evening, gentle listener, and welcome to Distractible, a Wood Elf production. This week, the boys plumb the depths of the human condition. Charisma King Wade admits he plays the clown for the crowds. Mark can mimic an asshole to enrich his allies. Daddy Bob's favorite self is the one he sees in the eyes of his wife. From social chameleons to stoic stances. Yes, it's time for The Masks We Wear. Now sit back and prepare to be distracted and enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Distractible. I'm today's host, Wade. If you're new here, this is the podcast where one of us hosts. There's three of us, I'll introduce in just a moment. The other two compete for points. The winner, who has the most points I guess at the end, hosts the next episode. So as host, I'm also judge, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Mark and Bob. Hey boys.
Hello.
Hello.
How y'all doing on this fine afternoon, I guess?
Pretty good.
Well, technically the episode releases at midnight, so there's someone listening at like 12:01 right now, and they're like, it's the middle of the night. I work every night. Late night shift. Every single night in the dimension of afternoon.
The graveyard shift. 11 p.m.
Allow me to destroy the illusion. We don't record when you listen.
It's actually a live stream that we do starting at 11 p.m. Sunday night. We finish it at midnight and then it goes live.
Mm-hmm.
No editing, nothing.
It's actually a perpetual live stream. We just say the same thing in the same way again and again and again. Every time someone hits play, we have to redo the episode then and there.
How do we pull off people that have two devices that put up two different episodes of the podcast and maybe like a YouTube video or Twitch stream at the same time?
We have an array of microphones in front of each of us, and they're all slightly differently delayed. And so even if you're listening to the live stream on the exact same feed on multiple sources, it sounds different. It sounds like it's different recordings.
Yes. Don't break the illusion. No, it's a quote recording that you can stream on demand. Ooh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, gentle listeners, I guess. Well, other than being definitely very real with our audience, how you guys been? I don't know if I said, how are you guys been? But I meant to say, how have you guys been? Losing my voice a little bit, so apologies for the struggles.
I did not notice
Excellent.
that thing they say about when you have a baby, you don't get to sleep anymore. That's very true still. Sorry, my computer just made an alarm sound. That's great. Thanks, computer.
Whoa.
I have been getting stronger and stronger and stronger every day. My muscles have been growing bigger and huger and more effortfulness to doingness.
Why, you got another calendar or OnlyFans thing coming up?
No, I just, I'm in the last stretch of this stupid diet that my trainer has me on.
Wait,
Stupid trainer.
is this the same one you told me about whenever I saw you like a month ago?
I don't know. When did we see each other?
Around,
What did we?
I guess it was a couple months ago. I don't know, around Christmas.
Uh-huh.
You were doing I think it was all meat.
Right, it's the same one. I'm still doing it. It's not all meat. It's just high protein.
Bro, you keto right now, bro?
Like, no, not keto. Like it's just high protein, as low carb as possible, and that's it.
Oh, bro, you know hyper keto?
Hyper keto. I don't know if that's true. It's just
You
like
adjusted weekend keto, bro?
yeah, exactly, man. It's like I have fruit on occasion. That's basically it. And then mostly just like as much protein as possible. And that's really all I've been doing. Look, I don't want to talk about the diet, but I've never missed rice and spaghetti more in my life. I can't wait for it to be over in exactly 4 days now. I'm going to have a donut and a hamburger, and then I'm going to have spaghetti, and I will shit myself to death immediately afterwards. But I'm so ready for it. God, results, I can't deny. I joined the 2-plate club. I can bench press probably over 225 right now because I joined that on an incline bench doing 225 for the first time. And then just today I was doing 190. I did like 30 reps at 190 and I'm like, I could probably do heavier. But my God, I'm so hungry and tired.
Damn, dude.
Fair. That's impressive, though.
When it's over in 87 hours, who's counting? Who's got a timer
idea.
set on their phone? I don't know, but who's got a dozen donuts scheduled to arrive the moment I'm allowed to eat? I don't know.
No, I really think that if I did suddenly eat a dozen donuts, I might actually end up in the hospital again because my guts would either seize up or they would just go go, go, go.
Oh, no,
and
dude,
then it would
you
be
would blast
solid
off into
donut.
space. Pound a dozen donuts and like a pint of milk, and then put your helmet on because you're going to the moon, brother.
That's how you got your poop powers.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the way.
Oh, nice throwback.
Yeah.
I do intermittent keto where I eat meat when I want and then I eat other things when I want.
Dude, yeah. No, I'm on the trendy thing too. I do intermittent fasting where I just eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And then in between there, I'm intermittently fasting because I'm not eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I love how your brain works because I know Bob said, yo, you doing keto? And I said, no, I'm not. Yo, you doing hyper keto? And I go, ha ha, no. And then Wade only takes in, he's doing keto.
Well, no, I knew you weren't doing keto, but I figured I would just throw it in there as part of the bit.
Sure. Yeah, that's not the only information you took in there.
He listened this time, Mark. You can trust him.
No, I heard the thing about the donuts. I'm with you. I'm listening.
Exactly.
I asked the question. Of course I cared to listen.
Of course. But anyway, I'm almost done with that. I'm very, very strong. I cannot wait to eat donuts and be weak again. That's what I want.
Great. So you're not going to try any more weird diets after this, right? You're just going to be like, oh, man, this was great. Got strong. Time to go back to being happy, right?
Look, I feel my trainer keeps saying like, no, keep at it. You'll become fat adjusted. And I'm in like, I want to become carb adjusted. I want that in my life. And he's like, oh, no, you're so close to glory. And I'm like, I hate everything every time I eat food. And it's just like, I want to enjoy everything.
So you don't get to eat any like good sauces or anything. So what are you eating, like unseasoned meats?
I mean salt and pepper.
Just chicken breast?
Salt and pepper, chicken breast.
But you don't get any sauces or fun
I mean,
stuff?
it's
what about
not gonna-
cheese? Do you get cheese?
All the cheese I want, but I really try to stick to this light string cheese, and then I eat salami sometimes, and then I went to Fogo, and that was
you very
fun.
specifically said you didn't want to talk about it, but
yeah, exactly.
I just curious how miserable it's been. My parents did this thing once where it was like one of those very tightly restricted low calorie diet things, where I swear to God, all they got to eat was powdered soup mixes. it was like the saddest thing. It was like, all right, it's dinner time. Heat up a couple quarts of water and dump this powdered dirt mix into it.
That's
dinner.
That's the one good thing about this diet is I can eat whatever I want. I can eat until I'm full. There's no real. I don't count my calories or anything like that. But still, it's just the joy is gone. I have no joy.
Because you can't really enjoy any side dishes. I mean, are you avoiding vegetables and like sweets and carbs alike?
I'm not like strictly avoiding vegetables. I get like some celery, carrots. Like if I have lettuce wraps all the time, it's just like trying to minimize carbs in the same keto way, but just like as much protein as possible. That's literally the only rule. Just eat until you're full, but only try to eat things that are protein based.
Have you tried getting a steak with cheese on it? And instead of using buns or lettuce, you use 2 chicken breasts?
Dude,
are you
talking about the KFC Slam Jammer?
Is that a thing? God. Oh, yeah, from that 1864 movie. Everything is already done. I have no ideas.
Look, all other health concerns aside, I can't wait to be done.
Well, fair enough. And I'm really glad we didn't talk about your diet.
Thanks.
Yeah, anytime, man.
What diet am I on?
Not keto. Protein. Lots of protein.
Hey, that's pretty good. 2 points to you.
Thank you. I'll take those and stash them away in the vault. So currently, I guess I'm winning this episode that hasn't started yet with 2 points. Go me. I figured that today we would talk about something I don't think we've talked about before, but if we have, then have fun, subreddit, destroy me. It started with the idea of talking about lying, and then it kind of grew from there into flat out pretending. Like, I don't think I do this as much. I'm sure I still do it to some extent, but do you boys remember the days, or do you still have quote unquote masks? Like, you go to an interview and you act prim and proper for the interview. You display your professional mask. You hang out with your friends, you cut back, you're relaxed, you're just finally you. Maybe you hang out with like family you don't see all the time, so you've got a different version of like your not professional mask, but it's still not fully you. You're kind of like holding back some of you. So maybe mask is the wrong word, but I feel like that's what the term is, right?
No, masking is the term, and it's actually a term that's used a lot with people who have autism, and they basically consider a mask to how they navigate the neurotypical world around them. because of social pressure. Whereas it's like, but I think in the general speaking term of like having a mask, probably everybody has some form of mask. Like people say in a different friend group, they behave differently than with a different friend group, or something like that. Those could all be like, I guess, subtypes of masks.
Well, what are some of your boys' masks? Do you guys have masks that you use, or
That's a fucking
have used in the past?
Question, my dude.
It is. But that's something I just figured we haven't really talked about or explored, because it's not necessarily that you're trying to lie or hide yourself. It's just almost sometimes, a lot of times for me, it comes as like a comfort thing. It's like if I don't know you that well, then I'm not gonna be my full self. It's like don't want you to just think I'm a psychopathic idiot. So therefore, I'm going to, display some of the intelligence and education I've learned over the years. Try to use a good wide vocabulary, not make everything like but like I kind of am with you guys.
You could
but also
mask with us a little.
No, it's fine. I'm really happy to be myself with you guys. You're welcome.
You could use your intelligence. Listen, the listening listeners love Intelligent Wade. Tell you what, subreddit goes absolutely out of its mind every time you talk philosophy and whatever, and you remind them that you did go to college for something.
Very intelligent, and it takes a really smart person to be as dumb as I am, but man, is it more fun being dumb. So keep wishing, subreddit.
Or is that the mask?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That is a good question. Do you feel, all right, host, let me ask you some questions. So, because it's definitely, I feel like between the three of us, and we hang out in pairs of two, and we've hung out in a lot of different situations. I feel like we're pretty comfortable with each other after everything we've been through. So I feel like I've seen you really just being yourself without worrying very much at all about putting up a mask or changing how you're behaving. Like, what do you feel is the purest version of you? Is it Wade who makes fart jokes and puns and stuff all the time? Is it Smart Wade? What is your least modified version? Because I feel like that's a hard question.
I think it's a combo. It's a combination. I don't think one is more me than the other. I think I've had conversations with people that'll start off as something like really serious, and then like you make a joke, you go off like we do on the podcast, right? We'll go off and have a tangent, like laugh, make some penis jokes or whatever, then we come back and like have some more serious conversation. I like both versions of me. I think both versions are me. I think it just depends. It's almost like I like staying home and watching TV, but every now and then I want to go to a theme park, or I want to go, do this or do that, or go to a certain restaurant. And both versions of me are true. I hate going out, but also sometimes I need to get out of the house. It's like sometimes I want to sit back and think and like have an intellectually stimulating conversation about philosophy or, whatever else it might be. And other times it's like I want head empty, boob mouth.
I'm glad you said more words.
Head empty, boob mouth, because I have almost an equally good time both ways. I think there's a lot less stress and like exhaustion that comes from just being dumb and silly. And I also find that the bigger the crowd around me, the more like I'm inclined to be like silly and goofy, because I love attention. And I feel like a good way to break tension with people, like groups that are comprised of introverts, extroverts, is to be the fool, and then everyone else is more comfortable being themselves, because it's like, well, at least I'm not that idiot, so yeah, I'll talk to you. And everyone else starts having almost a better time if someone else in the room is already the fool. So I'm happy to take that role, because it feels like everyone else starts having a better time, and then I can kind of like either disappear or tone it down, and then like the ice is broken and people are just chilling and having a good time at that point.
That touches on something I was actually hoping to talk about, because one of the things you said was that it's exhausting sometimes, and it can definitely be exhausting. That's one of the common indications of a mask, like for neurodivergent people. But one of the things that I do a lot, and people don't really understand why I do this. Well, not a lot of people. Some people have started to clue in on why. In fact, there was one person on a stream that I was on that finally understood why I do this. But when I go on someone else's stream, I act kind of like a douche. I act kind of like an asshole. I'm antagonistic. I poke at people, and generally I make myself look bad. And I may have mentioned this at some point, but I don't think I have. But I do that because it makes the other person look so good by comparison.
Yeah, I've done that too.
I'm their guest. I am a guest on their show. And also it's a constant source of conversation. So anytime they go to me for something, there's constantly banter. There's a reason to have conflict, and there's a reason to keep viewers engaged and stuff like that. So I'll play not necessarily the fool, but the whatever you would call the fool that's also an asshole. I guess sometimes the fool, yes. But yeah, that would be an example of a performative mask, I think. In these situations where performance is a completely foreign thing to most people in their everyday life outside of normal social circumstances, there's not many times when you need to perform. So we as entertainers kind of have like a different experience with masks in general because performance is a key component of what we do, and it can spill over into our social circles because those skills don't just go away.
It's weird though, because for me being extroverted, like I am truly energized and feel compelled to be goofy. Like I feel like whenever there is a group of people, I'm not trying at all. Like maybe I am to some extent, but like I do not feel exhausted being the silly, goofy person at the party. But there are times where someone's talking about something, especially like when philosophy, morals, something like that comes up, or sports come up, and like I am so gleeful and eager to jump in and chat about that stuff too. Someone starts talking football and it's like, I'm there. I am so there, girlfriend. Let's talk about it. Like, whatever. Let's do it. I am ready. I know so much about so many different things, so many different teams. I used to play fantasy football all the time. I got to learn all the different teams and players back then, and I've sort of kind of kept up with it. I watch enough games. Like, even right now, I'm going off on a tangent that I don't necessarily have to go on to because it's something I'm passionate about and care about. Philosophy and morals the same way. People talk about the trolley problem, which is a very common, well-known one, but there's so many other examples. Killing versus letting die and other things too that are just fascinating to me. How law is somewhat based on morality, but also can't fully be because it has to apply to the masses. And there's just so many things that intellectually stimulate me and I want to talk about. But also somebody starts like, I was at Disney recently, and we had this bit going on where we would just like pull the Alan Grant. We would look at something, like take off our sunglasses or pretend to take off our sunglasses, go, my God, at like everything. It was really stupid. And we took every song we could think of, literally every song we could think of the whole weekend, and replaced lyrics in the song with spiders somewhere. So like, and I will always love spiders, like, the Whitney Houston, Dolly Parton song, the Blink-182 song where the spiders catching things, needing their inside. Like, we replaced like every word with spiders, and it was really stupid. There was nothing actually funny about it, but I was having a blast being stupid and doing that too. And it's like, is one of those the masks? Or do I just have like a dichotomy of existence where those are both me and anything in between are the masks? I don't know.
I mean, yes, I think that ties into the idea that we have different things that we adopt, personalities and behaviors in certain situations. And I think it's more of a trained response than just the fact that we choose a certain mask. That's just the response that we get from that group of people and what seems fun. But I don't think it's a mask if it's effortless. You know what I mean? If it's more in terms of like something you truly enjoy, I don't think that's the mask. I think that's who you really are. We as people very rarely show who we are, especially to strangers, but even amongst close friends, we hide some things for ourselves. When we are completely alone, I think that's when we are our truest self. But even then, when there are obligations that you have to do, like I have a lot of work that I need to do, and I only have myself to motivate it to. So like, is that a mask of me trying to push myself to do something I don't necessarily want to do? And so I guess even our personalities, our consciousness our free will might be this like adaptation and adopting a mask of some sort to behave in a world because our expectations of work aren't really our own. Other people have put them upon it, or there's certain standards, or you're trying to do something that someone has already done, whatever project, it's like an evolution of something that came before. So there's so many lines that you could draw, and each of them gets shoved and moved by every other line. So I don't know.
Bob, I know we haven't really opened up a whole lot of room for just like throwing out stories or anything else.
Bob, you stay out of this. You put your mask on. You sit in the corner. You put on
I do want to give you the podium if you want to say anything.
There's this mask with no mouth hole. You stay over there.
This topic is always interesting to me because thinking about this as it applies to myself always makes me kind of wonder if I'm okay, I guess. Because I don't feel like there's one version of myself or a group of behaviors that feels like it's my default one.
Okay.
I feel like with every person and mix of people, there's a different version of myself that comes out, and I could not tell you it definitely doesn't feel like when I'm alone that's, purely myself either. Because there's a lot of, I don't know how common this is, but I think it's pretty common. I have a lot of self-deception, delusion about, things I like or don't like about myself. How I view myself is not purely objective. I have strong feelings about different aspects of my personality, my vices, my issues, things I wish I did better or differently, behaviors I wish I didn't have that are just sort of things that come out of me that, make me feel bad about myself. I don't feel like I have like an unmasked version of myself who's the real me. I feel like I exist in context. And so I guess it gives me kind of a nebulous sense of self. Maybe it's just how I explain it, or maybe it's just how I conceptualize it. Maybe it's not that different from how everyone else feels, because there's no way I'm that special. I'm just another person, and I'm not that, I'm not some aberration of I am different and unique and everyone else is the same. But it just feels crazy to me, the idea that masks aren't your real self, that you mask your personality in different ways in different contexts, which I definitely do. In contexts where you have to, because you have to deal with people, like in the context of a job, in the context of school, you have to deal with people. You can't get away from your boss. You can't get away from, your professor in your class that you're in, or your teacher or whatever. Like there's ways you have to deal with interacting with other people who either don't like you or wouldn't potentially like you, or who you don't like. And you have to just, deal with that. But like, even I would say my purest form of myself is probably when I'm with just Mandy, because we have a pretty strong relationship and are very comfortable being very honest with each other about the world and about each other. And like, that feels like my favorite version of myself, but it still feels like a mask to me, because that's a way I behave only in the context of me and Mandy together. And it's not the same if other people are around. It's not the same if our parents or other family members are there, even other people who I'm insanely close with, who I might also feel very, very unedited around. It's not the same type of, open personality that it is. So it just makes me feel crazy. I don't know. Does that sound crazy?
I mean, it doesn't sound
No, I don't think
crazy.
so. Yes. No.
Well, but he's the judge. He would know. He declared you crazy.
Oh.
You're not so.
I don't think it does. I think that there's probably a difference between wearing a mask and being somewhat restrained. I think that we know family and friends in our life, a lot of them well enough to know like what to say, what not to say. I don't think that's necessarily a mask when you're just showing some kinds of restraint, whereas with your like significant other, usually every thought or everything you have, it's like, okay, well, I can share this with them and it won't cause any issues, whether it's like something personal, like, oh man, this wart on my ass has been really itchy today, but I better not tell anyone else about it, or stuff, weird things like that. Not that I have a wart on my ass, because I don't, but
gotta get my anti-wart mask.
Yeah.
But I gotta have my body shaming mask on tight.
But I was trying to think of like situations where I do feel like I'm wearing a mask versus times where it's just either different aspects of my personality shining or showing some restraint, either for the other person's benefit or just because it's something that's like, well, I just don't want to share this with everybody. It's not necessarily a mask to not want to share, like, I don't know, details of something you have going on, like a hemorrhoid or something, I don't know. So times I can think of that, like, I would wear a mask would be like at work, at an interview, when I'm meeting somebody I don't know for the first time. Like, I'm trying to think if conventions, like, whenever we've done like fan meetups, is it really a mask? I don't feel like it's necessarily a mask because it's not really a fake version of me. But
I say
like,
yes.
even when I'm tired, I try. Well, I guess maybe it's different for you guys if you're introverted. For me as an extrovert, like I feel like I'm still purely me whenever I'm meeting fans, but I am trying to keep up the energy even on days where I'm exhausted. Because we've done a couple of them where we went for hours and hours and hours and hours, and by like 4 hours of sleep after going out to a bar and drinking and then meeting people for like 10 to 15 hours, even as an extrovert, that's a lot.
Well, yeah.
So is that a mask? I mean, I guess to some extent, right? Because you're masking that you're just exhausted, and as much as you want to meet everybody.
Are you just going to
needs-
answer your own questions? Are we going to have a chance here? What is this episode?
I want to share my thoughts and get your guys' thoughts. You can agree, you can disagree.
Is that a mask? Well, in a way, it is, if you think about it.
That's just the way my brain works. Sorry, I'll put on my mask of stupidity.
Yeah, please do.
What is even the mask? Please tell me. What does the
No,
word
just
mean?
put on your mask of shut up and let us, because I keep going like, yeah, I think, no, apparently not time.
All right, asshole. What do you have to say? Throw it out there.
Oh, you already said it, because I don't need to say anything else. What do I just be reinterpreting? And then you're going to deduct points from me because you're like, well, that's what I said. I was like, well, you didn't give me a chance.
You know what? 3 points for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now reaffirm what I said or disagree with me, damn it.
I mean, it is a mask in a way, because like there's a certain it's a social expectation that's like a strange one. It's a unique circumstance that not many people are going to experience. Meeting and greeting people. It is, in a sense, kind of weird. You have this entire line of 500 people that are all watching you, waiting their turn to meet you. And yes, it's a normal, quote unquote, conversation that you have one-on-one, but you have to like try to make sure every single 30-second sprint that someone has, because that's about how much time is allotted, or else you're going to be there for like people do the math in your head about like there's 500 people at a convention that want to see you. They each get a minute a piece. That would be 500 minutes to get through the entire line, which would be unfeasible. Like that is, what is that, 8 hours?
8.5 hours, 8 1/3 hours or something like that.
That would take 8 hours to get through 500 people. And it's like, we have millions of people across the world, of course, like it's spread out. But at a convention, you know, there can be tens of thousands of people, not that all want to meet me or anything like that, but it's like, it's untenable to get through those people. So when you have those time allotments, which is usually like 30 seconds, you got to like make sure that you seem, even if you're tired or anything, but at least try to do your best to convey that you are happy to see them, which can be as authentic or real or as not real as the individual creator who is there. For me, and I'm sure you guys, it was real, but exhaustion is a thing, so we can't even let them see anything, or else they're gonna start going like, you look tired, and we're going like, that's not helping. You shush. We're not tired. Be happy. I'm smiling. Put on your mask.
You shut your fucking mouth. Hey, can I sign something for you?
I mean, you guys have heard it many times. Like, oh, you guys look so tired, and we're like, no, shush. We're fine. Enjoy the moment. Don't waste it with us. Comment like that.
We do have a naturally antagonistic relationship with our audiences to some extent. At least I know you do and I do, especially my Twitch streams.
Yeah.
YouTube a little bit less so, but like streaming, I very much love being an antagonist to my streams, especially when I win.
How many times are you fighting your stream?
Every time.
I see.
More so than any game I play, the antagonistic relationship of those little shits versus me is the number one thing that goes on.
Yeah, well, they deserve it.
Wow.
They do. They're great. I love, you guys should check us out.
You guys listen to us, the audience that he's insulting right now. You should listen to this podcast that you're listening to.
You should. So you would say for you feel like it's a mask?
I think absolutely, because there's no way in human evolution or society that it's such a bizarre social circumstance. We have done it a lot, but someone going into that for their first time is going to like not be in any way an expert at it. I don't think we're an expert at it. It's just like, it's just such an out there thing. When it comes down to what I consider to be masks, it's trying to imagine how you should be. Anytime that you have to imagine how you should be in a situation, instead of just going into it, and most of the time now I just go into things just trying to be more like myself. But I think for the vast majority of people out there, if they have to imagine how they should be and there are expectations either that the outside world puts on them or they put on themselves, it could be from either, they have to kind of fabricate a set of rules for them to adhere to behave properly in this circumstance and come out of it with the most social benefit possible, because it's a reward system too. It's like reward based. You want to come out of something feeling good, feeling like you did it right, you accomplished something, even if it's like not a meet and greet, even if it's a job interview, something like that. You want to come out of it, you know the rules, you've set the rules in your mind, you've constructed the mask out of rules. And I think that's what the mask is. And you slap it on your face and then you walk in there and apply the rules that you set in. Whether or not you practice those rules and are instinctively good at adhering to those rules is up to how long you have been practicing that. And that can be exhausting because it's a juggling act.
Okay. How do you feel about it, Bob?
I mean, hard agree. We're talking about a really, like Mark keeps saying, we're talking about a really weird version of a social experience that is not a lot of people are going to understand. Well, they might understand, but not have personal experience with being, in that situation. But for me, it feels like a character. I try and be authentic when we're doing like this recording and other content stuff, but it's definitely still a little bit of, I play it up. It's a bit of a character. It's a bit of a mask, I guess is fair to say, so that I am the most outgoing and maybe snarky, judgmental, hopefully funny version of myself I can be when we're trying to be entertaining. But when we're meeting the people in person, it's a strong character. Because even though I don't think anyone who wants to meet us in person, just as a fan, would be offended if we were completely real, I think they would maybe appreciate that, some people. But, that's not what anyone is there for. You don't pay for a ticket to an event so you could meet someone you look up to or who you find entertaining, and for them to be like, man, I'm really run down today. It's great to meet you, though. You want to meet the character that you are a fan of. You want to meet the band whose album you listen to on repeat, because it's like a snapshot. They want to see a snapshot of the version of us that they enjoy and that we offer. So yeah, it's extremely taxing for me, and it's like a very thick character to put on to make sure that anyone who's there, and not to say that it's insincere, because it is still like part of who I am, but it's not how I feel all the time. And I'm frequently so exhausted when we do stuff like that, because for me, I need time where I'm like alone with headphones on, listening to music. That's not easy to come by in the setting of, a convention or other settings where we're meeting people in that way. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always felt weird about that, because I don't ever want to feel like I'm being insincere with people.
No.
And especially not someone who's like a fan who has paid money to see like our tour, or, is at this event for that reason especially. But nobody wants to watch a video or listen to a podcast where I mope because I'm tired. I do mention it a lot. I don't know if you guys remember, I have a baby now.
What?
And it is exhausting.
It always catches me off guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, like nobody wants to hear you mope about how tired you are. Not to say it doesn't matter, but a little bit, it doesn't matter. You gotta have the right context for that to be the thing to focus on.
To that point, yeah, probably the greatest mask, well, greatest as in not the best, but just like the biggest in my life.
The coolest?
The coolest, not quite. Depends on who you're asking. Mask that I've ever worn in my life is Markiplier. Like more so than just like it's a character or like I'm a character. I've become more Markiplier than Mark in the recent years, and it's kind of like melded into one. But it all started, and I might have like talked about this a long time ago, but not to many people. When I was first starting doing YouTube, and I was coming out of like my, losing my job and surgery, that was a few months prior to me starting this venture. But I was still not very self-confident about where I was in life, and so when I latched onto this thing and I was making videos on this channel called Markiplier, I was like, I'm Markiplier. What does that mean? And I would go to the gym a lot, and I would run around the gym being like, I'm Markiplier. Markiplier is cool. Markiplier can make friends. Markiplier can talk to people. Markiplier can do all these things, be sociable, be funny. Every single thing that I said that Markiplier could do was something that I believed I could not do. Me as a person at that moment. It was like this aspirational goal for me when I was starting out this channel, because I saw an opportunity to reinvent myself. It was not so much that I just wanted to make a mask. I did, and this is something that probably a lot of people who maybe have heard about me online at the time and then met me might have realized that in person I was very different from how I appeared in my videos. And I think that was the dissonance of like not understanding who I was at that time. And admittedly, most people don't understand who they are in their entire lifetimes. I still don't think I'm fully there, but it was this aspiration to improve myself. And that was the entire thesis of that mask that I was creating. And then at some point in my life, I realized that there could not be this fake version of myself that I aspired to. All I had was myself to push and push farther. And I reached a very depressive episode to get through to this point. But once I worked through it and I realized that I had aspirations that were just for me and not for a performative reason to put out for other people to enjoy, and that I could be myself, but the myself that I had could be improved upon, was a turning point in my life. Like it was a dramatic change in the way that I approached both what I was doing for a job and what I was doing as a human being in my day-to-day life. And so it's a situation where, yes, it started out as a mask, and yes, it was exhausting to be that, and it took years to even understand what I was doing and why I was doing it, but I wouldn't be here unless I put up those rules and those abilities for me to like aspire to, like from the earliest point in my YouTube career.
I guess my follow-up to this, which maybe you guys have answered to some extent, do you think we have different masks we wear for different people, different situations? Or do you think there's always a fluctuation of like some percentage of us, some percentage of mask that we're showing?
I think that given the way that I feel like my sense of who I am is very based on the context and sort of not so centralized in one group of behaviors or whatever that I feel like is the real me. I feel like I can be a different person if I'm with a large group of people, even if there's one person who's not there versus them being there. It can affect who I am and how I present myself or what behaviors I tend towards or whatever. And like, I guess this is not a direct response to your question, but I'm just curious. Do you guys find in everyday life when you're dealing with, you know, the cashier at the store, or if someone comes to your house to maybe fix a refrigerator or something, you know, something like that, if that happens to other people, do you find that you behave differently for those individuals you might encounter? Because I feel like I do this really weird thing where I try and like ingratiate myself to them in my behaviors. If I meet someone and I know that they're from Michigan or the Midwest, I'll sort of go into like my Michigan voice where I say yeah a lot. And there's a lot of, you know, like rounder O's and stuff, and it's a little more Michigan-y. Or if I don't have a Southern accent, but if I'm encountering someone who's like clearly has a Southern accent, is from Texas, I might say y'all, which is a word I would never use in normal conversation ever. But like I have cousins from Texas, and I, you interact with people from different parts of the country. I have absolutely met someone, heard their accent, and been like, oh, that's cool. What are y'all up to right now? No. Just as a subtle way of being like, I'm connecting with this person. They will feel more comfortable because of how I'm doing that, even though that's not really a part of like who I would be in a neutral situation.
No, you're talking about straight up mirroring.
Ah.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
It's a part of masking in a way, but mirroring I think is a very human, like instinctual thing. Monkey see, monkey do. It's kind of this idea that everyone mirrors in some way, but some people mirror because a lot of people out there, their favorite type of person is someone who's very much like themselves. And so when mirroring is like maybe even a survival tactic that kind of evolved to do that, but it's one of the most useful and easy things to do to put people at ease. It's also kind of automatic for certain people. Some people say like ADHD, it's a common thing in ADHD to mirror. I mean, I think I do it as well. Maybe not to the extreme of like adopting accents and whatnot, but maybe so. I haven't been in too many situations like that. But yeah, mirroring is definitely a huge thing.
Because that always made me feel like I was just straight up lying to people. But I'm really, I'm being sincere with them. It's like an unconscious thing of like,
they're infecting you.
I want to make sure you're cool and we're comfortable, and I don't mind, presenting myself a little bit differently if that's gonna.
Man,
yeah, I have found, like you said, a lot of people really like it if they think that you're kind of like them.
Yeah, man,
they feel like, we're cool now because no, you're like me. You're just like me. You're a rebel.
You gotta ask Amy about her least favorite thing that I do. It's usually when I'm going into a new like shop or something that I've never been to before, and it's not like I'm harassing the staff there. I would never do that. But what I do is I adopt this like extremely clueless, overly smiley and just the most socially awkward mask I could possibly put on. We went to this, like, I forget what it was, like Danish puffs or something like that. I don't even know. You'd have to ask him because I've never seen myself do it. But I'll just, I'll smile real big. I'll lean in real close and I'll just say something like, "What do you recommend?" And Amy thinks it's weird.
Yeah, I remember her mentioning that. Yeah.
No, yeah, I've seen you. I was not in the way you're quite describing, but you do that a lot interacting with like waiters is the context I'm imagining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I want to say I'm perfectly nice. I tip well and I treat wait staff with respect. I do that, but it's just, I don't know.
You mean with respect?
It's kind of like a weird double effect because Amy has reinforced it because it bothers her, and therefore I find it a little funny and it's harmless, I think.
It strikes me as a very dad energy thing.
Yeah, probably. I think it does.
Where like you're just like trying to be deferential or whatever, and it I doubt it bothers very many people that you interact with, if anyone, but you just have that vibe of like, oh yeah, no, I'm new here. What do you think I would like? What is this place?
That's
what
exactly
do you guys do?
The last one that really bothered was like I had a gift card to Fogo de Chao, and someone gave it to me over Christmas. And when paying for the bill, I hold open the bill to the waiter, and I'm like, "This is a gift card," and then I hand it over, and it's like. I didn't even notice I was doing it, but it's like they all just cringe and laugh at me, and I'm just like, "What is?" I just wanted him to know. I don't know why it was weird.
I don't think that's that weird.
I feel like Molly definitely has things that she calls me out for. I'm not sure what off the top of my head, but I think I've got some dadisms or something too, where it's like, why are you talking like that? Why are you doing that? And in the moment, it feels perfectly natural, but I guess to them, it's like, you're being weird.
I am starting to get that urge. This is not off topic, I guess, a little bit, but my parents didn't do this, but Mandy's parents, and especially her dad, if we're at a restaurant or wherever, if we're out, being consumers somewhere, and the store or the restaurant or wherever we are has done a particularly good job, Mandy's dad has that thing that I think a lot of people do where he's like, oh, I just want to, I want to give my compliments. And depending on how good it is, it'll be like, oh, is your manager around? Can I talk to him? Whatever. And just to be like, this waitress, waiter, whomever has done an excellent job. We're super happy. I just want you to know that we had a great time, and you have got a great employee there. They did an excellent job. And my whole life, I always had the reaction that I feel like your kids have to their parents, right? Where it's like, don't do that. That's a little much. As I've gotten older, though, I'm getting that urge more and more. Where it's like if someone in that because I've worked in restaurants and I've worked in like fast food type places too. If someone does a good job in a setting like that, in a retail, customer service setting, they deserve a compliment. That's a terrible job. You have potentially have to deal with the worst side of people in society, being shitty to you, writing on the check, here's a tip, dress nicer if you want money, like bullshit like that. If you do a good job in a customer service setting, I kind of want to tell your manager you did a really good job now. And I haven't done it yet, but I just have that instinct of like, they deserve a little, like, I hope they get, treated well. I hope they get good scheduling. They do a good job. I just want them to know.
I've done it.
But you've done that?
I've done it. Like, the manager will come over and be like, how are you guys doing this? Even like, this is the best server we've ever had. Like, I've done.
Oh, I've definitely done that.
I don't think I've ever done it unprompted, but I might have.
No, if they come and ask, I will definitely be very complimentary. But I've reached a point a couple times where I was like, should I see if the manager? No, don't do that. Wait a minute.
Can I speak to your manager for a compliment?
Anyway, that has nothing to do with masking. Just your big dad energy made me think of that. I'm absolutely going to be that guy at some point.
I feel like we're in a Progressive insurance commercial right now that don't become your parents.
I love those commercials.
But we're just becoming the parents anyway.
It's like a big warning sign what to watch out for, though. I see those now and I'm like, poof. I would never do that, but in like 10 years, I see those commercials again at some point and be like, wait a minute. Couple of those things seem like stuff I would do.
I've been the guy in the elevator or like waiting for a plane or whatever else. It's been like something will happen. It's like I make a comment like for like a little chuckle or whatever, and people will like give you that like
Gross.
it's funny, or maybe it's like the pity laugh, or it's like the funny but I don't want to actually laugh.
It's
I'm
called
not
an
sure which
obligation laugh.
Yeah, they're masking. You are forcing them to put on a mask.
That interaction is the
I've
obligatory laugh, because everyone in the area who heard you has that initial reaction of like, ugh. But then they're inside their voice is like, don't be a jerk. That's a joke. He made a joke. And you give that laugh, that obligation laugh.
There's times though where it seems more legitimate than others. I feel like I've gotten a legitimate chuckle, right?
It's pretty tough if you consider, the idea of telling a joke like as a comedian to get a laugh. You're basically walking onto an empty stage there in front of a crowd that's not expecting a comedian and telling them a joke and expecting them to be in the mood to be like, ha! Yeah, that flight attendant is slow, isn't she? Oh, what a guy. That's why audiences get warmed up. You're not always in the mood to laugh, okay? They don't have to laugh at you.
No, my charisma is so high. They're really laughing. I'm just that much funnier than everyone else. I know it. And humble.
Okay.
God, my Aries is showing. I'm sorry. You guys go ahead.
What the hell does that mean? What do you
mean?
mean, go ahead? You didn't prompt us with anything.
Go ahead.
Just go. Earn points, damn it.
You want points, don't you?
The subject's masks and stuff. Earn points.
Masks and stuff.
God, you want me to guide you? You want me to leave it open-ended? What do you want, Mark? You keep switching back and forth. You want me to guide conversation or not?
All right, Bob, you want to talk about stuff?
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. That guy, the movie, The Mask.
He keeps coming up lately. What in the hell?
What do you mean,
The
hell?
1996, 8? I don't remember.
98?
Jim Carrey movie, The Mask. Now
94.
there's a mask.
Wow.
94, damn it.
That had decent CG for 94.
Yeah, though that's what always gets me. It doesn't look like it's early mid-90s computer graphics at all. It looks like it's late 90s, 2000s.
Yeah, no, it
looks pretty good.
It holds up. I watched it a few years ago, at least.
It does hold up pretty good. It's a fun romp.
Now, Son of the Mask. Now that is not a fun romp.
Oh no!
I've never even seen it. I did see a YouTube breakdown of it, and just like it is just probably it looks cringe from 10,000 miles away. Like you can feel it. You can feel it without even having to watch it. Anyway, that's it. We're out. Thank you, everybody, so much.
Is that what you wanted us to talk
Awesome.
about, Wade? Is that the stuff you were looking for?
I feel like we've scratched the surface. It's hard in our time to go super in depth with topics, but I feel like there's a lot more to cover.
I think one of the aspects that we have not covered that I do want to mention is most of what we have talked about is masking from the context of people that are already well socially accepted. I may have talked about like from the beginning when I didn't feel that, but even then I had friends. A lot of people who try to mask and don't always succeed are, like I said at the beginning, the people who are neurodivergent, people on the autism spectrum of some kind, and then they have to mask and they often feel like they're not masking well enough, and it can lead to like this cycle of failure and like a loss of identity and not knowing who you are, and that can lead to depression, and it can be troublesome for people. So they're like, we've had a lot of like fun memories to talk about with masking, but there's like it's a struggle for a lot of people, especially a lot of people who don't fully naturally and instinctively understand social cues, body language, stuff like that. It can be difficult, hard to build relationships, and this feeling that you need to maintain a mask at all times can put undue pressure on someone and be not nearly as fun. So if anything, I would just like mention that, some people are trying very hard to be what they hope people perceive as normal, and slipping a little bit here and there isn't a need to call out anything from someone, just like understand that everyone is struggling in some way, whether or not it's a mask or that's just so they're having a shit day, or maybe there's an asshole. It's like to each their own. Everyone's struggling. So just remember that.
I guess final question. Masks, are they different, or are they like a cocoon and we slowly reveal or cocoon up more of ourselves with them? Is it one mask that's just a percentage of mask, or do we have multiple masks, you think?
I think it's less mask, more makeup, if you think it like that.
Okay.
You construct what you need a certain look in a certain moment. And, you get better at that over time. It's like a skill, like anything. And even though it doesn't seem like it, maybe you go in the wrong direction. Some people probably look back at old makeup looks that they had and cringe. And they're like, oh, man, I can't believe that. But, that's what I picture it as.
Final thoughts, Bob?
I guess I keep saying the same thing in different ways. I feel like I have a very wide range of different versions of how I present myself, masks, I guess. But the thing that connects them for me is it always feels like my core values generally still drive the masks in terms of the overall way that I present myself and the way I interact with people. No matter how far away, how much of a difference it feels like I'm doing in one situation or the other in terms of masking my personality, I always feel like underlying it all are how I feel about people, how I want to be, to the best of my ability, like inclusive and uplifting. And I don't always succeed, but I do always feel that, no matter what makeup I have on, to use Mark's analogy or metaphor. Which one is it? I don't remember. So I guess that's the main thing that makes them feel connected, but they feel wildly different to me. I can feel like a whole different person, one context to another. So it's hard for me to say it's not, different masks for different times and places that aren't very similar at all, potentially.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate it, boys. I enjoyed this. I wish we had like 2 more hours to dive deeper in, but hopefully everybody out there listening, you guys enjoyed this. This was definitely a less silly, more thought-provoking one, so hopefully that half of the subreddit is happy with me, and the other half, well, suck my dick.
There was no need to antagonize him. It was gonna be what it was gonna be.
I wanted to take my mask off for a minute.
Is that the true you?
I guess I'll leave it up to the subreddit to decide.
That wasn't an
which
answer.
One of us is the real me and which one's the mask.
It's very villainous of you, Wade. I appreciate that.
Thank you. My villain arc begins now. Points, I definitely wrote a bunch of them, and I'm not just flipping a coin right now to figure out who won.
That's my bit.
Oh, well.
You stole that from Distractible.
Maybe the bit was not forever in your favor today because Mark had more points at the end.
Woo!
I mean, that's your bit, man. You can have that bit. Are you sure you want to reflip the
Best 2 out of 3.
Sounds like a funny bit. Funny stuff.
I am so sorry, but it looks like you're getting the tail end of this coin, Bob.
Oh, I get it, because it's heads and tails.
Mark, you have a winner speech?
I would say, I said all the pertinent, almost disclaimery things that I wanted to say in there, for the actual definitions of masking and how people deal with it. So I'll just say, I know what these two really look like under their masks, and the truth would rip your mind apart. It would tear your psyche asunder. You would suffer ego death unto, the most horrifying suffering and experience known to man. Don't peek under their masks. Don't do it! No, do it! No!
Okay, Markiplier Fishbog. Bob, what about you? You got a loser speech?
I hate both of you. I deserve to win. Subreddit, where's the outrage for my unfair losses? Come on. I forget what my subreddit's even called. The Brotherhood of Bob?
The Brotherhood of Bob.
Best Bob's brothers? The Bobby boys? Come on.
Bobble? No.
I think that's just a you thing.
Oh, well, someone will adopt it. They'll take it as their mask.
You actually stole that from the 1992 film Bobby Boy. That's kind of his catchphrase.
I probably did. I'm sure someone will find it eventually and be like, oh, look at what Wade stole this time. But I appreciate you guys. And as the 3rd place finisher with 2 points, I guess all I will add is make sure you give these boys and myself a follow. Mark at Markiplier, Bob at MySkirm, me at Minion777 or Lord Minion777. We have merch. I don't know what's there, but you can find out if you go to store.distractablepodcast.com.
With confidence.
Let me mask that. With store.distractablepodcast.com. And I guess Mark will be hosting the next one, and we'll see you all then. Thank you guys again. Thank you all of our listeners. Thanks, Baltimore, for everything you've done for the, opening. I'm sure you said lots of nice things about me. Podcast out!
The lights dimmed as the cameras and microphones finally powered down. Aghast, the podcasters all looked at the Iplier again. Why? How could Mark come across as such a douche canoe? Though they knew he was truly a titan of a man, Mr. Iplier merely looked at them and said, "You're welcome." for he knew that this day he had made them all look magnificent. Until next week on Distractible.